There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, it's only been a week, but yes, we're back. Thank you for tuning in to the Jaggernaut podcast. I am Michael. As always, I got my brother Franklin with me. Tonight's topic is simple. We are going to run through the AFC South. The AFC South is the division that the Jaguars are in. That is home to the Jags, the Titans, the Colts, and the Texans. So we're going to do just a little bit on each one of those teams. Some key off-season acquisitions, some losses maybe, and what we think, one, where the division will shake out, who will come in first, second, third, last, and how we potentially compare to them and how they sort of compare to each other. So with that said, let's do our rundown of how we think that the division is going to shake out this year. Franklin, brother, who's coming in first?
I think you got to go Tennessee. I mean,
I would agree with that. Tennessee finished first last year. They were actually tied with the Colts, but they had the tiebreaker. I haven't seen anything in the offseason to make me think that's going to change. Who do you like coming in second? Runner up.
You know, you want to say the Jags, but you can't say that. I mean, there's just really no. It's not a reasonable thing to say. I'd love to see them competing for that second spot. Is the way I do see that actually, but I do see it. I think the Colts are going to get a head start on us, and I think that by the time we start rounding into the team we expect to be, it might be difficult for us to catch back up. So I'm going to say the Colts.
I'd agree with you here. Unfortunately, I would love to put the Jags. I would love to put all three of those, all three of the teams, the Jags, the Colts, and the Titans, put the names in a hat and draw one. One of those teams is going to come out. But you're right. Unfortunately, based off the way history tells us and the fact that we don't truly know exactly what the Jags are going to do on the field, that right now I have to go with the Colts. I think the Colts are the number two dog right now. Much as I hate to say that, that is what it is. And this is the NFL. If you want to be first in the division, you have to damn earn it. You know, nobody gives it to you. People pick this stuff all the time. The only thing we can maybe have some hope in is that every year there is some turnover from the playoff teams. Yeah, I think it's like 6 teams per year is about the turnover average. So 6 teams that made the playoffs last year are not going to make it this year. Could be for injuries, could be for but just bad decisions. You know, there's a lot of reasons that make that up. But yeah, I agree. I think the Colts are coming in second. All right, Frank. What do you got third?
Well, I mean, I don't think this is enough. If anybody who follows the league, I don't disagree with. I think anybody would say that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Anybody's going to say, most 9 times out of 10, unless you live in Texas or you're some Texans fan who hasn't paid attention or is just oblivious to what's been going on there. I know we went 1-15 last year, but we're on the move. We're on the rise. We are going to come in third because the Houston Texans are an absolute dumpster fire. So they will come in last.
All right. Well, it looks like we have a unanimous decision. Unanimous. Jags in third, Houston in fourth. So we both agree that's the way the division's going to shake out. At least that's, I want to say, what an educated mind, football educated mind would lean toward.
It's as educated as anybody else will give you. Or it's as reasonable. I'm not going to say it's as educated. I'm not going to put myself on the level of people who pay attention more than I do, but I will say I don't think anybody knows this sort of thing. It's really guesswork to in some sense always. So I mean, you can get talking heads who can say a lot of things, and some of those people just say things just to get clicks, and they'll say things they isn't necessarily reasonable, but they'll fudge just because they know they might get more clicks because it might be a little bit more um, controversial, So
Yeah, like Trevor Lawrence, he's the token white guy.
who said that?
Oh no, Jalen Rhodes said that about the
Love, Kevin Love.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, calls him
yeah.
the token white dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, he
yeah.
probably could.
He's a
He
perfect
probably
example of people who
probably
get
could
paid
have
to
said
talk.
why he didn't think Love deserved to make it without bringing his skin color into it. Disney, you know, I
Well, we've talked about the
you do something, but whatever.
yeah. Well, we've talked about a little bit about the race and the political correctness that happens, and
Yeah,
so
yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on from that because I don't want to dwell on that in this
Oh,
podcast.
you don't want me to bring up my racial
If you want,
story?
if you want to drop a link, if you want to say something about it, and then drop a link in the description when you post this video, please, brother, go ahead. I have no problem with that. I just want to try to keep it to football.
Fair
You know,
enough. No arguments here. I get it.
that's really what the podcast is and is about.
Yep.
Everybody else has a whole lot. Every time you cut on your radio, your TV, you get hit with that crap. I don't think most Americans care, nor do we always want to be bombarded with it. So we'll offer sanctuary here.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, Frank, first up, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. We have what we both believe is going to be number 4 in the division, the Houston Texans.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson. I say he doesn't play at all. Sounded like maybe you thought there was a possibility he might play.
I think Deshaun Watson plays. I think he settles. I think he settles out of court for an undisclosed amount. Obviously, I think there is some kind of agreement in place with that money that they can't talk or speak about it. And I think he moves forward.
If he plays, then I might reconfigure my possibility of the Jags being third. I mean, you never know how it. You're just locking it in to start. So,
and I agree. Deshaun Watson has proven to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, regardless whether the Texans ever really made noise or not. You can debate that. But he has proven to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And he does make the team better. But this, to me personally, what I think, what I see, what I believe is that the Houston, Texas organization as a whole is a complete dumpster fire, as you call it. Yeah. That means the offensive line, the defensive line, the secondary, the receivers, the running backs, the tight ends, special teams, kicker. Outside of Deshaun Watson, let me ask you, outside of Deshaun Watson, who scares you?
they don't have anybody that scares me.
Nobody. I mean, so they got what, Derek Johnson, right? Who hadn't done. I'm sorry.
David Johnson.
David Johnson, who had one hell of a year 4 years ago, but hasn't done anything since. They have the guy from Denver, who was the
Philip Lindsay.
Philip Lindsay. So they have him from Denver, right? And I can sort of see that being an okay.
They also got Mark Ingram.
I like Mark Ingram, but I think he's on the downside of his career.
Yeah. Well, here's let's run through this a little bit, if you don't mind. I don't mean to cut you off, but let me just throw some stuff. So just to set the foundation for what we're dealing with the Texans. I mean, everybody that was somebody is gone. I mean, it started with DeAndre Hopkins, who was, most people would say, if he wasn't the second best receiver, or it wasn't the first best receiver. He was the second best receiver. Now they don't even have Will Fuller. Deshaun Watson, I don't think he's going to play. But regardless, if he does, he'll be playing with a giant cloud over his head and the whole team. It's so bad. JJ Watt is gone. So there's literally nobody left. So to what I do think this team may be more competitive than you may imagine, only because they do have the opportunity to have a bit of a fresh start. They'd have a running back core that's not terrible. They have some fresh legs there. So my thought process is, let me just throw out the quarterbacks too. So they have I even forget I didn't even write down who they have on their team, but the guys that they've added in this offseason are Tyrod Taylor, and then they drafted Davis Mills. I think you take Davis Mills and put him somewhere.
Yeah.
He ain't going to be relevant at all. It doesn't matter if Deshaun doesn't play. I don't think he's in the picture. So that kind of goes to show you the offseason then, when your first draft pick is this guy who you think, I mean, if that happens the way that I see it, that's a terrible first round or first pick for your draft. So it's just a cherry on top of that terrible offseason that they had. And the thing is the way that I could see this happening is them just being a really scrappy team that probably loses a lot of games, like a butt ton of games, but maybe not get blown out. They just don't have anybody that really scares you on either side of the ball. If you sort of look at their roster, I could see them really trying to focus on running the ball. I could imagine Tyrod Taylor kind of running, trying to throw, trying to make some kind of passing game happen, and then just focusing on the run like nobody's business. I think it's going to be ugly football. I think it's going to be terribly unentertaining. I mean, the concept of maybe Tennessee, it's going to be the ugliest Tennessee Titans style of football that you could imagine, without any sort of big play possibilities that the Titans bring. And it's just going to be a terrible season for the Texans fans. As far as
that's why I put the Jags above them, because
Yeah.
I think if I line up our rosters and I go right down the way, I think unanimously, there may be one or two outliers, but for the most part, I think the Jags, I would put my money on the Jags player beating the Texans player. And so that's why I put the Jags, even if, and I would give them Deshaun Watson over Trevor Lawrence, because
Deshaun Watson would be the best quarterback in the division.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely agree. So yeah, that's my take. That's my take on the Texans. That's why I can't put them above the Jags. Yeah, I think they may have Whitney Merciless. I know he's always caused us issues, but he's older now. He doesn't have JJ Watt there. They don't have anybody. They don't have any pieces really that would scare you as a defensive coordinator. As an offense, I don't know how you don't. I'd attack all over the place. To me, it's like they don't have corners that can go off on an island. So they'll have to use some zones. They'll have to spread them out and run it down their throat. I mean, and I think that's going to happen. It can go one or two ways. It can go your way, where it is a scrappy dogfight that just is horrible to watch, or it's just a complete blowout.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the two ways I see it, but each way it's a lose.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they may win like 3 or 4 games. I could see them pulling out a game here and there somehow. That's tops to me, 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, so then we got the Jags, which we have covered in every podcast since we have started.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a ton to add there. I don't know if you do, but I'll pick it.
No, let's just go to the
Go to the
Colts. Yeah.
All right, so then we got the Colts. Now we both picked the Colts to finish in second. However, again, they tied Tennessee last year. I don't recall that they really lost anybody. They did switch quarterbacks, right? So they no longer had Philip, or they no longer have Philip Rivers. He retired, right? So then they go out and they get Carson Wentz and his huge contract. So Carson Wentz is their quarterback for the foreseeable future, probably for the next 4 or 5 years. They're paying him a ton of money. How do you feel about Carson Wentz?
He is difficult because I probably feel about him like most people do. When he had that one season, what was that? Was that his rookie season?
I think it was his rookie season, but I think they went to the Super Bowl in his second season, right? Because
Okay.
that's when he got hurt, and then Folds came in.
Okay, that sounds right. Yeah, I
So we'll go
just
with
don't
his second season.
understand that sort of fall. And it always baffles me that somebody could come in the league, find success. Because I think that, to me, in my mind, I think that's the hardest thing to do is to get success. And I do get that there's this idea that, you can, the tape gets out on you, and, defensive coordinators can figure what things that you do well and sort of guard against that and focus on the things that the weaknesses that they see in your play. And then, so I know you can, but the fall was great. I mean, to me, it was he may have played the worst. He may have been the worst quarterback in the league last year when he played. I don't even remember how many games he played. Um, so you don't know what you're getting. Now, I will say this. I like the pickup by the Colts. Obviously, when he was successful, Frank Wright was there.
Yep.
So there's that aspect of it, and it makes sense for them. And so they had to do this because Philip Rivers retired. So, I mean, Philip Rivers was a Band-Aid too. So they're in this awkward stage where they don't have the guy that they're trying to, that they hope is the guy. So I like the shot. I like the idea because they do have a really good team. Um, so it Carson Wentz may come in, and it may have been this complete ridiculous scenario that was up in Philadelphia that was part of what magnified maybe some deficiencies that he has, and maybe you'll see a completely different quarterback. It would not shock me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think anybody who watched last year could put what happened to Carson Wentz 100% on Carson Wentz. Now, don't get me wrong. I saw him miss wide open receivers I could throw to. So I saw it. But I sometimes ask myself if he's not doing it purposely. Now that brings in his character, and I don't want to get into any of that. But it was horrendous. It was horrendous all the way around with that organization last year. They should actually be ashamed of themselves for what transpired. But anyway, yeah. So the Colts have him, and we know that he has the potential to play. He has the potential to lead a team into the playoffs. And I think when you put that type of quarterback on this type of team with the resources they already had in place, I think they're going to be a tough win for anybody. I don't think they're going to roll over. They have a fairly good defense. I don't think it's super stellar great, but I think it is really sound. Um, their offensive line for the last few years have been known as one of the better ones in the offense in the league. So you have that. They had their rookie running back, Jonathan Taylor, who had a good year last year. They got Marlon Mack back there. They have T.Y. Hilton. Outside of T.Y. Hilton, I'm not sure they have anybody else that scares me in their receiving core. Their tight ends, I'm trying to think. I know it's like Jack Doyle and
Mo Alley
somebody,
Cox is the
yeah,
one
Mo
that
Alley
I'm thinking.
Cox. So they're their tight ends. Not really strikes. They don't really strike fear in my heart, but you definitely have to cover them.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the Colts. I think they have a fairly solid defensive line. They got an outstanding linebacker. I cannot recall his name at the moment. And honestly, I know nothing about their secondary. So
Darius
maybe,
Leonard.
maybe their secondary is their Achilles. I don't know. I'll kick it over to you, but I definitely think that the Colts have the potential. If it wasn't all Carson Wentz last year, that the Colts have the potential to definitely make some noise and even compete with Tennessee for the AFC South crown.
Yeah, I think it's difficult with the Colts because other than Darius Leonard, I don't think anybody jumps out at you as this superstar person. You know, they don't really have that on their team. T.Y. Hilton, kinda, but he always reminds me of a slot receiver. I know he plays bigger than that for sure, but uh, yeah, I mean it's just that they play really good football, really sound fundamental football. They don't they don't blow you away. You don't look at them and see this amazing strength in any position, but you don't see many weaknesses either. So they will be in every game they play. Frank Reich seems like a hell of a coach to me, and I think he'll get the most out of that team. And so, that being the case, I don't see any reason why, like as you said, I think if Tennessee has something to worry about, you do want to keep an eye on on Jacksonville and if they you know how how fast their progression becomes. But I wouldn't be worried about Jacksonville right now. I think if there's a team that the Titans should worry about, it would be the Colts, and all that hinges on Carson Wentz.
Quick question. Now, statistically and basically all throughout our history, we've almost always split one game with the Colts. We've won one, they've won one, even back into the Peyton Manning years. Possible this year?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, in fact, I'd probably expect it again. I don't think they're that much better than us, to be quite honest with you. I think they're just savvy enough and better at the right positions to where they're going to out they're going to get that additional victory over us record wise.
All right. All right,
I
bro.
can see them
All
winning
right.
like 10 games and we end up winning 9 games, that sort of thing. And Tennessee wins 11 games. I mean, I think that's the way the division's going to be.
And that's possible. I still think that's very high praise for us,
Well,
but it's doable. It's doable.
it's also the division. I don't think that we are, I think if you look at this division, I don't think it is super powerful. It's definitely not. We're not looking at Kansas City's and Buffalo's in our. I mean, well, Tennessee's at that level, I suppose you could say.
Well,
So
if they're not, I think they're close.
they're
But
close.
I think they're sort of close for a completely different reason. So we're going to steamroll right into who we think
Well, we
will
just
win the
started talking
division.
about them, so
So let's bring on the Titans. All right. So here's my thoughts on the Titans. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry. That's pretty much my thoughts. Julio Jones. They're gonna. I don't know what to say about the dude. I think the dude makes him better. I think he was probably always a top 5 wide receiver since he's come into the league. So does it put them in the realm of a Buffalo or a Kansas City Chiefs? I say no. I say no because I think Buffalo, I think the Seahawks, I think KC, I think Green Bay. I hate to admit it, but Tampa Bay. You know, I think they all have better quarterbacks. I'm not knocking Tannehill, but Tannehill to me is not an upper echelon QB. He's a tier two, I would say tier two, quarterback. So he's definitely above serviceable and can even potentially win you games, but I don't think he's an upper echelon QB. Um, Again, I think their defense it's good, it's solid, middle of the road, maybe a little better than middle of the road, but I don't think there's anything there that says that if we don't execute, if we execute correctly, we can score on
Yeah, I think
them.
I think the hope for the rest of the division is the idea that it's twofold in regards to their offense. You you stop Derrick Henry, and then you stop Derrick Henry. And then if you do those two things, then I think you have a chance. Well, and here's why I'm kind of jokingly say that. But I guess what I'm saying by that is you want to throw Tannehill in there as the second one, but it becomes kind of irrelevant at that point. If you know, the playoff game against the Ravens, they shut down Henry, and then it was it was kind of a convincing victory for them.
The
And
score was close. The game may have not have been that close, but
yeah,
the score was close.
but the thing is you know what you said about Tannehill, I think is true. Um, when you sell out to go against the Titans to stop Derrick Henry, and because of that, I think that makes Tannehill look better than what he really is. I think defenses are willingly exposing themselves to certain things. Now that does bring the specter of Julio Jones
Yes.
and AJ Brown. Let's not forget that guy. That guy, and that's why when I talked about the dirty aspect of the Texans, when I said they lack that big playability, you can imagine. I mean, I don't know if you can do that anymore with Derrick Henry. I don't know if you can sell out like you used to. And here and I kind of got off track a little bit, but the hope is this, that when it comes to Tannehill, he still has to manage the thing. You kind of hope he falls off a little bit and doesn't manage that machine so well like he has been. And the hope is this: his offensive coordinator that has been with him while he's been flawlessly managing what seems to have gotten an additional turbo boost on his vehicle here. He's lost his crew chief. The offensive coordinator is gone. So the hope is that, maybe that's something that is an issue. As far as the Titans are concerned, I was a little bit surprised when I sort of was doing a little bit of looking into them. They're really not that great of a team. I mean, it really comes down to Derrick Henry. Um, and I don't think their defense is that great. I don't, and they were I would say sub middle of the road last year if you look, and it that in of itself, coming with games where you have a running back that was just chewing teams up, um, that always helps a defense. So uh, what I'm saying is that they could definitely use some improvement on that side of the ball. I think that is a way to exploit if you get a high powered offense uh, that can exploit that, get a lead, take Henry out. You may see a team that, if I would love to see that if I'm the Jags, if we can get 2 scores ahead or something somehow, I would really love to see, or any team would. I don't care that they have Julio Jones. I don't care that they have AJ Brown. I love that scenario. Of course, everybody does, but Julio doesn't scare me as much because then you're not as much worried about Henry. So I don't know. I mean, they are the cream of the crop of the AFC South for those reasons. I mean, they are some imposing, skillful players.
Right, and that's exactly why they brought Julio Jones in, because if you sell out to stop Henry, now you have to now you have to be you basically can die from the pass. If you cover the pass, you're going to die by Derrick Henry. So it's almost like pick your poison. At least that's what they're hoping. As we know, sometimes it doesn't always work that way. At least that's my hope. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the defense, you can score on the defense. One or two mistakes, as any most typical NFL games, one or two mistakes, and the game's almost out of reach. Especially if you can capitalize on that. But yeah, so I mean, I thought again when Julio was basically for sale, I thought Julio could go anywhere he wanted and make any team better. And I still believe that. And I believe that the Texans are a better team as long as Julio Jones is there. I know they're getting their left tackle back, so their offensive line may actually be better. I think it was Taylor Lewan.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's coming back. So now, granted, I have a theory that it takes 2 years to come back from an ACL. So we'll see how Lewan responds to that. So, I mean, there's some question marks. They're just not as big, I think, as the other teams. You know, I think the Colts, their question marks are about the same size, maybe slightly bigger than Tennessee's. And then we have ours, which are huge. And then the Texans they don't have any question marks because they don't really have anybody.
Here's the way I would sort of characterize it. I think everything in the Texans team is a giant question mark, or maybe it's an exclamation point. Maybe it's that doo-doo emoji, actually. I don't know. I think that probably is more fitting for them. The thing that's interesting about the Titans and the Colts are, I actually think the Colts are a much better team overall. I mean, if you just look all over the team, I just feel like that is a more solid team. But I think the way that Tennessee runs, Derrick Henry, like if Julio Jones and Derrick Henry got hurt, it would be, I think we might win the division before they would. Now, the Colts would be the ones that, in my mind. So, in other words, I think the strong points of Tennessee are so great that they overcome a number of issues that Tennessee actually, as a team, I think have.
No.
And if they didn't have Julio, I would place the Colts as the team
to beat.
Yeah, it would be close. It would be close. But and I think, to be fair, I think it's close now. I put Tennessee slightly over the Colts, and if they lost Julio, I would put the Colts slightly over Tennessee. Or if they didn't have Julio, I should say.
Right.
So to that point, is there anything else you wanted to do? One of the things I was thinking about doing was just kind of going through the position groups and kind of ranking. I was going to throw out what I thought where they all stacked up and kind of throw them at you.
Well, hey, we can always do a Franklin's Thoughts segment. So, brother, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you Franklin's Thoughts.
Okay, so let's start at quarterback.
Okay.
And tell me if I'm being a homer here. So I'm taking Deshaun. Now this is if Deshaun's in there, that I put the Texans as having the best quarterback group, because you just go by the starter. I mean, it doesn't matter who your backup is. That's ridiculous. Deshaun's out in my mind. So this is the way I'm looking at it. That puts us as having the number one quarterback. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Carson Wentz?
Okay, so I would rather have Trevor Lawrence, but I think in order to be better than both Tannehill, unfortunately, and Carson Wentz, we need Lawrence to be a year 2, year 3 guy.
Look, Lawrence is a generational quarterback, and there's no reason to think otherwise. And I know you have to see it and all that stuff, but I'm not going to go, oh, we drafted this guy who's literally never won. I don't think the guy's literally ever lost a regular season game in his high school or college career. I'm not going to. We just drafted this guy, and he is what you consider. I mean, there is no weakness in this guy's game.
But I agree. But we're talking about this year right now, right? Just name me one quarterback who has started as a rookie, who came in and just
Justin Herbert did it last year.
Okay. All right. Well, there's been Roethlisberger. I forgot he did it.
I mean, look, it happens. Also, the league is set up for it to happen.
Also, Andrew Luck did it. It's possible. The only reason why I would not put Trevor Lawrence there,
okay, who are you putting over Lawrence? Tell me now. Which team has a better quarterback?
Yeah. Okay. So I think Deshaun Watson's going to play. I think he is the best QB in the division, followed by Carson Wentz, followed by Tannehill, followed by Trevor Lawrence.
All right. I mean,
for this year, and it's not talent based. It is.
That's what I'm doing it.
It is experience based. It is a complete body of work. Trevor Lawrence does not have a body of work.
I didn't look. I'm talking about who do you want on your squad going into this year. I'm not talking about who had the best NFL resume. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who do you want on your squad.
So who do I think is the best quarterback? Okay, I think Trevor Lawrence is I think
even with Deshaun Watson with the smoke over his head. Now, if you didn't took all that stuff away, Deshaun Watson miles away. Yeah, there's no question.
I would take Trevor Lawrence even over Deshaun Watson if I had to pick.
That's all I'm saying.
Just skilled quarterback.
I'm just saying resume. You look on paper.
Yep.
You look on paper.
Resume. Yep. Give me
who do you want?
Yeah, give me Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, so that puts us as that position in the league. Okay, so running back. Here's the way I'm looking at it. Tennessee, you gotta go Tennessee.
Yeah, it's got to be
Henry. I mean, I don't even know who the backup is. I forgot. I know they've had a couple. I forgot. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So definitely, I think Tennessee. And then now here's interesting. Jags Colts 1-2-2-1 1A.
I have the Jags coming in next, and it's close though. It's close.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So Robinson and Taylor both had really, really good rookie years.
Yep.
I have to give the edge though. If I'm not looking at resume, I give the edge to Jacksonville because I think ETN is a better scat back, a better valued back, I think, than Marlon Mack. Not to take anything away from Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack's done it. If I have to take resume, I think I'm leaning Colts. But if I have to take pure talent, and that's what you're asking me about, who I think is the most talented, I think I do go with Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I did it too. I think if you're talking about the starter running back, then you'd lean Colts for Taylor slightly, but the fact that ETN is there, to me, that puts our running back group better than the Colts, slightly better than the Colts.
And then I think the Texans last.
They're last again. Yeah. I mean, they do have some names. I mean, but I just, you're not going to scare me. And I'm not going to say they're going to be bad, but they're not going to be as good as the Colts and the Jags on paper to me with when they're grabbing people, retreads from other teams that, yes, have had good years before. So Philip Lindsay, you're going to take him over ETN? No. I mean, no, you're not going to.
No.
So anyway, so I think we're in agreement on that then. So wide receiver.
It's got to be the Titans. I mean,
Yeah,
you got
no question.
clearly the Titans. Now here's fun. Here's what's funny. Next up, I think we got the Jags. If I had
I
to
got
break
it.
it down by position group, I do think we got the Jags because I think after T.Y. Hilton, there isn't much there. And
Yeah.
I think once you get past Brandon Cooks, there isn't anything on the Texans either.
Yep.
So we got DJ Chark, we got Laviska Shenault, we have Marvin Jones Jr. To me, our position group as a complete whole is fairly close to Tennessee. I know people are going to say, "Oh my God, no way," um, but I don't think we're that far off. I mean, they play a little bit different, and Tennessee definitely resume wise, I think takes it with just those two guys.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, if I had to look at actual talent, I really think, or skill, or however you want to define it, I actually think Jacksonville again comes in at number two.
Yeah, because I don't know who their third wideout, like if they're in a third, let me see who that would be. If they're in a 3 wide receiver split, I don't even know who their third wideout would be. But I mean, the point you made is you cannot take AJ Brown and Julio Jones as your 1 and 2. It doesn't really matter at that point who you put at number 3, to be honest. So that's kind of an irrelevant. But when you're trying to split hairs, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their roster. They grabbed Josh Reynolds to replace, I think, Corey Davis. So yeah, and
There's
we
not
got
much,
Laviska Shenault. So to me, it's that definitely puts us close to them. Once you put our three wide receiver set out there, it looks a lot better to them. So let's see, did we and so what I have coming in next are the Colts because of T.Y. Hilton,
That's correct. Yeah.
and then the Texans. So
Yeah. I mean, like Brandon Cooks, he splashes here or there. He was good when he first came into the league. I think T.Y. Hilton is at this point just better than he is. I don't know exactly who else the Colts got. I don't think they have very much behind T.Y. Hilton. And I'm pretty sure that the Texans have nobody behind Cooks.
yeah, I think that's the fair assessment. And you never know who will emerge.
Right.
But at this point, when I was looking, I didn't really see names that jumped out at me and enough to put them over who we have. So in regards to the O-line, we've been definitely down on our O-line. So I think clearing away, the Colts have the best offensive line.
I'd agree.
Okay. And I don't, not too much to talk about there, just maybe the best all around group. And stars don't matter at that point. It's just how they play as a group. And they're just,
They'll agree. And I will honestly, I'll give Tennessee the edge over us.
oh, that's the way I've got it too. I mean, how could
So,
you?
and then I got Jags third, and then of course I have the Titans and
And honestly,
the
there was part of me that almost wanted to put the Jags fourth, just because I know the Texans have Laramie Tunsil. I just don't know what else they have there. I mean, I looked at, they might be all right there. I don't know. I don't know enough about so yeah, that's exactly the way I have it. I do think our offensive line could turn around with the right scheme. I am excited about Little. So,
well, but again, I mean, so that's what
the
gets
future.
back. Yeah, I mean, but that's what gets back maybe with hopefully a better quarterback. If the ball's out on time to the right receiver in the right place, maybe some of those sacks don't happen. Maybe they build confidence. Maybe. But for right now, we have the third best offensive line in our division.
Okay, so let's go to this one because this one I found interesting. Tight end group. Now, tight end group, who's got the worst tight end group in the AFC South if I ask you?
I would probably say the Texans.
Okay, so see, I would have said us. I would have thought there's nobody going to be worse than us.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's see, what did I I actually have the Texans as the second best tight end group.
Really? Who do they got?
Let me look and see. But the Colts I had as having the best.
Okay, I can agree with that. And I would honestly, I would have, if the Titans would have held on to Jonnu Smith, even though really he only made noise in 2 games.
Oh, Johnny, yeah. No. Yeah.
I would have probably said he's the best tight end in the
I would have put
division.
them number 1 with Jonnu Smith on it, to be honest.
Right. But yes, with him gone, and I don't even know who they got as a replacement. Like, I think the Colts are one.
Yeah,
after that, man, isn't it just picking turds?
Dude, it is this
you got the Colts, and then the rest of the, like, you can take Chris Manhurts and put him on the Titans, and it's still just picking turds. You can take O'Shaughnessy and swap them.
We have the AFC South has to have the worst tight end squads in the league. This can't be, because if I think we agree the Colts are first, and they have Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah.
Now, when we talked over them, you basically called them and I think they don't scare you, but you got to cover them. I think you said something like that. And they are the best squad. And that's how bad it is in tight end wise in the AFC South. So here are the Texans tight ends, and you tell me if something jumps out that maybe there's somebody. I think the tight end that they're hoping for the Texans is who they drafted in Brevin Jordan from Miami. So chip in and let me know if you think that's something to hang your hat on.
So he has potential, but he's a rookie coming in. I wanted him for the Jags. I thought where he got drafted, it was great value, but he's still a 5th round guy. If he's going to end up being something, I don't think it's going to be like a Jimmy Graham in his rookie year. I think it's going to take a little while to develop.
So here are their other tight ends: Jordan Akins, Anthony Auclair, Pharaoh Brown, Ryan Izzo, Paul Quisenberry, Cahill Waring.
Yeah, so they have nobody.
Okay. I mean, I didn't.
So that's really
somebody that was like this guy who came out.
So on tight ends, really basically you have the Colts, and then you have the rest are just turds.
Okay, so now listen to this star-studded tight end roster that the Titans are coming to bat with: Anthony Fursker, Miller Forrestal. Now he's the one they just drafted, so who knows about him? Tommy Hudson, Briley Moore McKinney, Jared Pinkney, and Jeff Swaim. Does Jeff Swaim sound familiar?
It sounds familiar, but he's not Zach Ertz. He's not, he's not Mo Alley Cox.
Jeff Swaim was on our team last year.
Oh, well, that's why it sounds familiar.
That's how bad they are, that they had to pick up a guy that was on our squad last year that we didn't even want back.
Yeah, which is weird because he's not going to help him with plays because he's not around. Yeah, so it's the Colts and nobody else.
Yeah, I thought that was just interesting when I started going through and noticing that. So let's go ahead and jump to the defense. And this is where it got a little bit harder for me to sort of parse everything out. The defensive line, to me, when I started looking into it, it was the Colts, and it was pretty by a decent margin. Their ability to stop the run is pretty substantial. They have Kwity Paye coming in.
Yep.
Now I know the Jaguars didn't have him high on their board since they leaked their board out. But regardless of that, they have some decent players. I mean, they got DeForest Buckner, they got Justin Houston. Um, and like I said, they basically stopped the run really well.
I
And
would, but I would put this. I mean, I would put this exactly where we put the offensive line. The defensive line is it's the Colts, it's the Titans, it's us, it's the Texans. You know, in that order. Um, maybe we make some noise, maybe we scare people, maybe we move up, but we ain't doing that if we can't stop the run.
yeah,
So maybe the new D coordinator, maybe they've said that they're going to blitz more, but we've heard that before. So I don't know. I think I think we have pieces in place and some developmental pieces to start to make a good defense if we can get a hold of one or two really good one techniques. Just pluggers.
are you familiar with anybody on Tennessee's line that is a
I
name?
No, actually, and that's what's funny is when I was looking over it, nobody jumped off the page.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
they're solid. Like they're like I don't know a top 13D. The number 13D overall. In the NFL. But it wasn't anybody that I looked at that said, "Oh, okay, well they got Dion on the outside and nobody else."
yeah,
There wasn't anybody like that. There wasn't any predominant name to say, "Okay, this is why that defense is good." Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but just based off the body of work and last year, I would say it's the Colts, the Titans, and then us.
Okay. And I'm differing from you. I'm actually going a little bit positive on our defensive line because we focused so hard on it this year. I just on paper, I feel like I'm going to give us the slight edge. So I've got us coming in second behind the Colts, especially when you consider Josh Allen, and just the focus that we put on it. I think that the names that we have are just
I mean,
a lot
like
better than the
I
Titans.
could easily see our defense being better than theirs.
Well, they have to be. Oh, then there's
No,
okay. I think you said better. Sorry.
no, better than theirs at the end of the season.
Right.
But at the start of the season, it's hard for me based off of what I saw last year to put the Jags D up there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I mean, I know they
Yeah.
have
No, it's fair. It's
they
fair.
have a bunch of no name guys, but these no name guys played.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, and that's the way I saw it too. They probably just play sound defense, and that was one of the issues that we had.
Yeah,
Oh, that was my gap. I didn't realize that. Sorry, guys.
yeah.
Me again.
Now let's trade him Tavian Bryant because he doesn't make anybody better.
Yeah. Well, they got Aubrey Jones on their team, so maybe when we
Yeah,
release
I
Bryant.
saw, and I thought he was okay for us.
Yeah,
I didn't think,
I get it.
yeah,
I wouldn't shy away from signing him. I'm not sure why we didn't re-sign him, honestly. I mean, he doesn't blow me away in any stretch, but that's how bad our line is that Aubrey Jones was one of our best ones.
yeah.
So, yeah, but I've also got no qualms with losing him either. All right, so linebacker is also a little
I
bit
give it to the
difficult.
Colts.
Yeah, Darius Leonard
Yeah.
takes the edge there. Um,
Now,
and
outside of that, I give that to Jags. I think the
well,
Jags have the better linebackers.
Well, actually, I was kind of looking at some stuff, and it looked like the next best linebacker is actually on the Texans. I mean, the Titans. Um, and let me see if I can find him. I don't know his name right off the top of my head there. And they also drafted. I'd be interested to see how Monty Rice does with them because I've heard he may be a pretty good player. He's a rookie, but Jayon Brown is apparently played really well. Has been playing really well for them. So, I'm giving that edge to the mainly because I see us doing 4-3, and I don't know quite. I like Miles Jack. Um, So I think our two interior linemen might be solid, but we're splitting hairs, I think, at this point. So I'm gonna go with the guy that had the game
I
last
just
year and is
think,
coming
look,
back.
I just think like Darius Leonard is like Julio Jones. I think he's the creme de la creme. And then next, I have to go to the complete room. And when I do that, I think Jacksonville has the edge.
So what about secondary? What's your thoughts on secondary? Here's what I've got. I've got the Jags. I think we have the better
Really?
secondary.
Hmm.
I don't think secondaries in the AFC South are
They're like tight
on
ends.
paper great. What's that?
I said they're like tight ends.
Instead of the tight end being super low, we're everybody's super
Middle.
normal. Yeah, just
Yeah.
average.
I can definitely see us at the end of the year being the best secondary, but I can also see us being the third. As far as who's better, again, with these two defenses for the Titans and the Colts, there aren't any headliners, you know, but they get good, solid play. And just based off the way we played last year, it's hard for me to put them up there. So I think at this point you can flip. For me, you got 1A and 1B for Colts and Titans. Flip them out, flip them if you want them. Doesn't make a difference. And then you have the Jags, and then again you have the Texans, and that's the way I would roll with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because Tennessee focused on their secondary, and so I can't.
They got Caleb Farley.
Yeah, they got Caleb Farley, and then they also drafted. Who's the other guy that they drafted? Elijah Molden.
Okay.
So he was their fourth draft pick. So they've got two rookies that they're kind of counting on. And so think I think probably next you're going to have to go with the Colts. So I have Jags, Colts, Tennessee, Texans, and it's kind of weird, man. I've got Texans, the worst team in every single category except tight end. I actually put us over over the Texans. Actually had the third best tight end.
And I mean, that's the state of the roster, though. This whole offseason, in fact, the last 3 years, I don't know what the hell the Titans were doing. And if you're a Texans fan, it makes you feel better. I don't really know what the hell the Jags were doing.
Yeah.
But
well, here's the deal. If our defense comes around, man, what I'm looking at is I have a lot of confidence in the offense, a lot more than I do in the defense. And so if we can get the defensive line to come around and the linebackers, stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, so like we have the potential because we do have maybe not headliners, but we got potential headliners at certain key places. So we have the potential to make a faster turnaround. But I'm trying to temper my expectations because, well, we're the Jags.
Yeah.
And as a fan, I'm like, hell yeah, we can contend. Yeah, of course. And then I build it up, and then we come out and we play and we shit ourselves. And I'm like, is this even an NFL team? So I'm tempering expectations, and I'm going to go in that way. I am not expecting a whole lot this year. I'm expecting 6 wins. I'm fine with that. I think that's positive. I think that's in the right direction. I don't want Trevor Lawrence hurt. And then I think after this year, I think is when we really start contending. because I honestly think we're getting better. I think some of the other teams in this division, namely the Colts and the Titans, have done patches to get better. But I don't think, as we all know, patching a problem isn't sustainable in the NFL. So at some point, they're falling, we're still rising. There's our window. Exactly when that's going to transpire, I don't know. Who's still going to remain? I don't know. Maybe CJ Henderson proves it. CJ, I want you to prove me wrong on my Gator theory. Right? Please, 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 right? I mean, because it again, he has the potential to be a headliner, but you got to stay healthy and you got to make those plays that you made in game one last year. I mean, that's really what won us the only game we had. So anyway, that's what I think. I think we have the potential to make the biggest swing, the biggest turnaround in the division, and we could potentially be there. Because after looking at it, after doing these breakdowns, we have a lot of potential, but that's all we have is potential. The other two teams, I don't think they have as much potential, but they have more success, more, I don't exactly know how to phrase that, successful experience.
Well, yeah, let me see if I can help. I think what you're trying to describe is the fact that they don't have as far to go. So those patches can help them achieve whatever goal they're trying to get. Whereas we've got I mean, it doesn't get much further than 1-15 as your starting floor. So, so that makes sense to your point about being pessimistic or not being overly hopeful. Anyway, I am trying to take the jaded Jaguar glasses off as well and try to be realistic on the fact that I think stars in a weird way aligned for us last year for us to be able to suck as bad as we did. I don't think the roster is as bad as that record. We had we had a good amount of draft picks last year that are still uh, baking in the oven, let's say, and we don't know exactly how good. You know, if Chason turns around, still got Josh Allen. You know, we've got stuff. We've got jars on the shelf that we've got ammunition. So although we have this low bar and we have this low starting point and we have a long way to go, I feel like we've got the gasoline to get there. So we have, I can see us easily. And this is the thing. I mean, the quarterback is everything. Not only do we have possibly a quarterback that can take us where we need to go, we don't have to wait that long to see it. I just don't see this team being in a position where we got our 2-3 years from now we're going to be. Now I'm like, it'd be unrealistic to say this year for sure. That's not how it normally works. So I'm not ever going to go there. But you said it also that toward the end of the season we're going to be looking like a better team, and then next year's the year that we compete. So I agree with that. And I'm thinking though our success will be a little bit better this year than what I think you think it would be. So who knows how it translates in regards to wins.
It's plausible. I mean, it can happen. We've seen it happen. And you're right, quarterback is everything. If Trevor Lawrence is generational and the dude comes out there and all he needs is a few plays to gain confidence. He gets that confidence. Everybody else sees it. Everybody else feeds off of it. Then they get confidence. Then Cam Robinson goes from being one of the worst tackles. I think he was rated 64, right? Yeah. I mean, so he goes from being one of the worst tackles to maybe middle of the road, maybe upper echelon, maybe top 20, right? Ball's coming out faster. He doesn't have to block as long. Same thing with Jawan Taylor. James Robinson's back there. He's pounding away, pounding away. They can flip it to ETN here or there. Maybe have them both in, keep defenses on their toes, keep them honest, and maybe we make noise. And it's plausible. I can see it. I really can. I mean, I think I again believe I can see that. Again, though, how many times have we done this? How many times have we gone on this roller coaster? We got on the ride. We're like, ooh, here we go, and then we just go straight down.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm tempering my expectations. But yes, I do believe that there's a chance. I think it's plausible we can have a much better year and be much more competitive, even if we don't even win. As long as we're not losing by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in the last quarter, and all we're doing is chunking the ball all over the yard. We end up with 400 passing yards and 3 touchdowns for a QB, but still lose. Well, truth is, we were never in the game. But if they win with 2 seconds left on a 53-yard field goal, well, that's the game. That's the way it goes. So I'm okay with that.
And it hinges on the defense. Like I said, that's the main thing for me. I totally expect the offense to be potent enough to score 25 points a game at least. And at that point, it just hinges on the defense. Are they going to round into a squad that has any way of getting turnovers, any way of getting stops? That's the key. So,
yeah, I agree.
All righty. I think that'll probably do it for this
play the game.
Latest segment of Jaggernaut podcast. So I don't think we didn't start with the Duval. I don't think.
No, but we can end it. We didn't start it right, ladies and gentlemen, but we will end it correctly.
Yeah. I forgot about that. But all right.
Duval. If we don't get that right, messing that up is going to be our signature.
It already is our signature, I think. So
that's all right. We get an A for effort. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.
See you guys.